nostalgia is inherently good. I think that's a statement that very few of you would contest. It's the type of blissful memory that reminds us of times or places we used to know. I have nostalgia for certain things I've experienced before, and I can guarantee that you do too, but yours is completely different. The same goes for everyone else watching this. This is because, despite nostalgia being such a common thing that everyone has, it's never the same from person to person. It's based on our experience of life. There are so many variables that it's quite literally impossible to find two people whose memories are exactly the same or even similar. Why then is it such a common occurrence on the internet for so many people to collectively reminisce over something? Be it an image of a playground that everyone somehow relates to, or a party venue that gives everyone a rush of familiarity, we've all seen examples of something that brings collective nostalgia. But what happens when we take that nostalgia and flip it on its head? What happens when nostalgia turns dark? It's this question, alongside many others, that I aim to have answered by the end of the video. Be prepared to question your memory, to challenge the fundamental aspects that make childhood memories joyful, and who knows, you may discover that while we all appreciate the past and how much better it was compared to the present, reality might just tell a different story. When it comes to nostalgic video games, I think we can all agree that Minecraft holds the crown. While it's true that there are many games such as Wii Sports and other Nintendo titles that are nostalgic, I still don't think any of them are able to match Minecraft in terms of memorability. This is mainly because Minecraft offers such a unique experience compared to other, older games. No world is the same as another, no player is the same as another, and we all play the game in completely different ways. The sheer variety of ways to experience Minecraft has left many a person with fond memories of the game, particularly the game's early versions. Old Minecraft was a long time ago now. Over 15 years have passed since Minecraft's creation, leaving more than enough time for people to grow up and look back on the times they had. The thing that confuses me about Minecraft's nostalgia, however, is the fact that it all seems so overwhelmingly positive. So many people look back on old Minecraft and see nothing but joy and euphoria when there's clearly more to it. Why do I say this, you ask? Well, it's because, in my opinion, the earliest editions of Minecraft are terrifying. You're in a forest. The fog is dense and close to the point where you can't see more than 10 blocks ahead of you. The last light in the sky is waning and nighttime is approaching, threatening to engulf you in darkness. You worry about whether or not you'll make it home in time, before the night takes over and you're forced to take shelter somewhere unfamiliar. You're in fear of something. Is it mobs? Is it the dark? Or could it be something else? Thankfully, you make it home safe and sound. You hastily shut the door, look out the window one last time, before heading to bed. Have you experienced this before? Was it unsettling? Probably. Admittedly, the way I described it may influence you, but the truth is, this is just gameplay from beta Minecraft. Nothing is modded, nothing is altered in a way to make it look scarier. This is just what old Minecraft looks like. It's no different to running home through a forest in new Minecraft, but something about it being an historical version of the game makes it infinitely more unsettling. The closest comparison I can think of is a childhood nightmare. You know the kind I'm talking about, one where you're in your own home and you recognise everything around you. You know where you are, but you're disturbed by something. In the same way, beta Minecraft is still Minecraft, but being in a 15-year-old version of the game makes it feel off. Like something's missing. Pre-release versions of Minecraft have always had a bit of a habit of worsening scary situations. How about the time when a player found a house they didn't build in their beta world? Of course this is undeniably creepy, but it's revealed that it was just caused by a rare chunk glitch. Knowing this, knowing that the house has a completely rational explanation behind it and is no longer mysterious, is it still creepy? Sure. Even though it's explainable, it's still chilling to see a structure that just appeared in a single-player world, no matter what the context may be. Now extrapolate this to present-day Minecraft. If you found something like this in the latest release and you found out it was just a glitch, would you be unsettled by it in the same way? Probably not. Although the occurrence is still unsettling, you're in a version of the game that you're familiar with, that you know everything about. Old Minecraft has an uneasy atmosphere about it that's hard to explain. It may be the fog, it could be the deafening silence, it could be knowing that you're alone in both the world you're in and the version of the game you're playing. No one knows for sure. We know the feeling, we all do, but can any of us truly explain it? I think it's easy for us to see the terror of old Minecraft as a new idea introduced by ARGs and scary stories, but the truth is that these fears predate the game itself, having been present even in alpha. I think the most well-known example of a historical ARG from the alpha days is Herobrine. Herobrine is an entity that's synonymous with Minecraft at this point. If you know Minecraft, you know Herobrine. But just in case you somehow aren't aware, I'll give you a quick summary. Herobrine is a humanoid entity that resembles the default Steve skin, the only difference being that its eyes are completely white. The interesting thing about this alleged entity is that it would never actually attack players. It would simply stalk and watch you from a distance, while never once laying a hand on you or harming you in any way. The fact that Herobrine was never considered a physical threat, but still struck the fear of God into so many people, is proof that nothing is scarier than being watched when you should be alone. The legend originated from this image, which surfaced on the internet in 2010, and has haunted the Minecraft community ever since. The image is undeniably creepy. The uncanny textures, the strange figure in the distance, and the dense fog Alpha Minecraft was renowned for, all combine to make this much more chilling. I think this myth is all the proof we need that Minecraft's terror has been around since the very beginning. Herobrine is an example of what many people would call nostalgic horror. It's memorable now because it was a long time ago, but it also invokes darker memories for those who believed it was real, myself included. A terrifying entity in a game where it doesn't belong, that watches you, that hides in the fog and observes every action. Who knows, it may have been there while you were building your first house, exploring your first cave, or walking home through a dark forest. In many ways, Herobrine could be considered more of a metaphor for the feeling that's present in both alpha and beta Minecraft. Whenever I play these old versions, I find this feeling hard to ignore. Was this the case when I was younger? Was I too unaware back then to notice it, or did I feel it just as strongly? Is it possible that our memories choose to block out the terror for the sake of nostalgia? Who knows? Maybe I did have a sense of being watched while building my first house. Maybe a chill did go down my spine on my first mining trip, for some reason other than mobs, but I have no way of knowing. The only way for me to experience this again is through memory, and we all know how unreliable memory is. Memory prefers to show us the positive and forget the negative where possible, which makes sense. We need to be able to reminisce on the past without constantly being reminded of the things that scared us or made us sad. What happens when the bliss of nostalgia and the darker aspects of childhood memory coexist? Well, I have the answer. Nostalgic liminal spaces. Now, this isn't the first time I've covered liminal spaces on this channel, far from it, but here it's more relevant than ever. A nostalgic liminal space is an image of a place that's strangely familiar, a childhood place that we can all relate to, and we'll feel as if we have once known, despite the obvious fact that we haven't. These images are always empty of people and altered in a way that makes them uncanny or even disturbing to look at. This could be oversaturated colours, darkness, or low camera quality purposefully added to make the image look old, like it was taken in the early 2000s. These images are a perfect visual representation of nostalgic horror, as they usually depict places we all went to as kids, but the nostalgia is always twisted in some way. These places remind me of something I would dream about, not in the present day, but when I was younger. My mind was less developed and my imagination more vivid and wild than it is now, leading to dreams of a similar nature. The crazy thing is that I probably haven't actually seen these places in a dream, but nostalgia is too non-specific and all-inclusive to confirm it, so in my mind I have. Nostalgia really is a powerful thing. Now the nostalgia has been covered, how about the liminal? How does it tie into nostalgia? The term liminal refers to something that exists in an in-between, a boundary or threshold that separates A from B. The 2 points a liminal space exists between can quite literally be anything, meaning so can the space itself. A hotel hallway, a road, a gas station, an airport, the list goes on. It doesn't even have to be a physical place. For example, dreams are a liminal state between asleep and awake, and the teenage years are a liminal state between childhood and adulthood. In that sense, liminal can refer to the person viewing the space as much as the space itself. If you're seeing a place like this in a dream, what you're seeing is a liminal space. If you're a teenager viewing a nostalgic childhood place in one of these images, you are also in a liminal state. Another aspect that makes these places liminal for teenagers and young adults are the memories they exist in. If you're within these age groups, the memories these places remind you of are close enough to be recalled, but far enough away so that they start to leave you. They are fading, but they have not faded yet, leaving them in an in-between where actual memory that is specific to you and false memory combine. That's where I think the nostalgia comes from. Now that's all well and good, but I haven't explained yet why so many of these images feel unsettling. Why do we get a feeling of unease looking at them? Well, we like to think of childhood places as being euphoric and full of life, as this is likely how we remember them. But these liminal spaces challenge that inbuilt assumption we tend to have. They dare to ask the question, what if our memories are wrong? What if we're forgetting how these places really looked and felt? The thing is, we don't want to think about this because it's obviously depressing. We want to look back and thank these places for shaping who we are, for being another memory for us to look back on. We don't want to see them dark and empty, so when we're presented with exactly that in these images, we become disturbed. A number of years ago on a trip to Berlin, we decided to visit my old kindergarten. It was a very modest place, just a small main building and an outdoor play area. It was the kind of place most people would walk past without looking back. Most people, but not me. To me it was childhood, the place where some of my earliest memories lie, and somewhere that will likely stay with me forever. We visited during the summer, so naturally there was no one there, but the place, weirdly enough, seemed almost entirely unchanged. At the time, I didn't know what a liminal space was, but now I do, and I can tell you that this was a great example. Everything seemed so perfect in that little play area. It was almost as if the place itself had been waiting for my return. Places don't have memory, at least not in a literal sense, because they aren't alive. But in this moment, it felt like the kindergarten was remembering me, just like I was remembering it. The connection between people and places can be way more profound than you think. After all, what are you without the places that shaped you? And what are they without you? The place, of course, will have a lasting effect on you, but it's easy to forget that it goes both ways. Think about it. Every time you exist in a place, you change something about it. This can be as subtle as moving an object, sitting in a chair, opening a door, or it can be as major as redesigning a room. These are all changes you make, lasting impressions on the place itself that can never be undone. Is this a memory for that place? Maybe. I'll leave that one up for discussion. Another consideration for this unconscious form of memory is hauntings. While it's still very much up in the air whether or not hauntings are even real, it's just as hard to disprove them as it is to prove them, so it is possible. There are countless stories out there from people who allegedly saw visions of those who no longer exist, as if they had somehow returned to inhabit a place once again. The interesting thing about ghost stories is that the ghost is almost always seen in the place where they used to live or the place where they passed on. It's almost as if the place remembers them and is showing you that memory in the form of these visions. It's believed by many that ghosts are a place's way of remembering, because they don't have the capacity to store the memories themselves. They instead project them onto us, as we're conscious beings that can store memories. That might be why so many people report seeing visions of loved ones instead of visions of strangers. They believe the place is trying to show the memory to a person who can relate to it. It's an interesting theory, and once again I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not you believe it. Is it a real phenomenon, or is it just hearsay? We can never truly know. The only thing we can do is theorize. The paranormal is still divisive, but who knows? Maybe one day something will finally give. Maybe one day we'll have evidence. Okay, now I think it's time. I think I'm finally ready to talk about what, in my opinion, is both the most haunting and saddening example of nostalgic horror on the internet. A video which stuck with me, that was deeply disturbing and simultaneously touching in a way that I can't even hope to explain. If you're unaware, The Oldest View is a series here on YouTube made by Kane Pixels, the same person who made the Backrooms. To put it simply, the series tells the story of a place lost to time. The buried memory of said place and the story of the person who inhabits it are the two main themes of The Oldest View. It's a story of loss, acceptance, and the fragility of memory. One that I won't forget soon. I really don't want to give anything away just now, so I'll leave you with that because that's really all you need to understand what's ahead. With that out of the way, let's talk about why we're here. Part 3, The Rolling Giant. This video is haunting. It's a heart-wrenching, wildly mysterious, and dreadful watch that I've been dying to discuss since I first saw it. The video is presented as an attempt by the main character, Wyatt, to vlog a discovery he made in the woods. It begins with Wyatt hiking towards said discovery in what seems to be a private rural area. The weather is windy, to the point where it's hard to hear much else as he makes his way towards the point of interest. After presumably a lot of walking, he arrives at the foot of a large oak tree, where we can finally see what he's talking about. It's a hole in the ground, around 3 feet across, give or take. The hole isn't the main focus, however. Instead, the main focus is what lies beyond. A staircase that extends down further than the eye can see, into the earth. Already this is a disturbing sight. Who made this? Why is it here? What is it used for? These are the questions that would likely be rushing through your head at this point. Wyatt explains how he set up trail cameras to monitor the site of the hole and see if he can spot anyone, but the cameras picked up nothing. He claims that this has reassured him and he's now ready to explore further. His walk down the stairs is very drawn out, presumably so he can see how far they go, and it seems unnaturally far, further than any staircase should need to extend for a normal purpose. Wyatt finally makes it to the bottom, where what looks to be an old decaying shower room is situated. We have no idea why this is here, but we will soon find out that the shower room is the least of Wyatt's concerns, as he opens the heavy-looking door and is greeted with this. A mall. Somehow, for some reason that's completely unknown, there's an entire shopping mall down here. This is roughly the point where any sense of normality dissipates. The questions pile up and the answers elude us, leaving nothing but mystery. Wyatt approaches the metal shutter of the shop he's in and attempts to open it. The successful opening of the shutter is way louder than Wyatt was expecting, leading him to flee in fear of other people finding him. He waits for a while, but eventually summons up the courage to continue upon realising that no one else is here with him. He explores the mall for a while in near pitch darkness. We see storefronts, escalators, tables, chairs, hallways, all things characteristic of a typical mall. Everything is familiar, but why is it so far underground in a random field in the middle of nowhere? How did it get here? While he's exploring a section of the mall, he stumbles across this. What appears to be a giant art statue with leaves for hands that towers over him, watches from across the hallway. He seems very shaken up by it, pointing out how uncanny it appears, but before he can question any further, the mall comes to life. The lights blink on, one at a time. The mall music begins to play and we can now see the extent of the place. It's almost pristine despite seemingly being abandoned underground for an unknown length of time. The central area is huge with a high ceiling, corridors spidering off in every direction and darkened storefronts lining every wall we can see. Wyatt panics as he contemplates making a run for the exit, which he eventually does, only to find that the stairs have collapsed. He is now trapped in the mall, imprisoned in a nostalgic hellscape. He stays there for a while and states in a very matter-of-fact way that he's messed up badly by coming here. Wyatt eventually re-emerges to the central area, as it dawns on him that the situation is now serious and he needs to find another way out. The music playing in the background directly opposes the current life or death situation he's in. It's the kind of mall music that's supposed to be cheerful and calming in any other scenario, but in this situation it's anything but. Wyatt ventures down into one of the many long hallways towards what he believes to be an exit sign. Along the way he sees a poster for something referred to as the Parade of Giants, behind the glass of a closed down store. As Wyatt gets closer and closer to the exit, he comes to the horrible realisation that it's blocked off, sealed by walls of stone. If we weren't sure before, we are now, that this mall is not supposed to be here. The sight of an exit completely blocked by the earth itself is horrifying, and it's here that the sheer hopelessness of the situation should be dawning on you. As if the situation could get any worse, Wyatt rounds the corner to the hallway where we saw the statue, but it's no longer there. The horrors of the rolling giant are relentless. They come one after another, and each one of them increases the dread tenfold. Shortly after Wyatt makes his discovery, the lights begin to flicker. The music corrupts, and we see the giant again. It's moved. It now stands across the well from Wyatt, in the entrance to another hallway, and it's staring at him. This shot alone is haunting. The giant's form is concealed by the darkness, leaving only its uncanny outline visible as it glares, motionless, at Wyatt. What's even more disturbing than this is when he goes to investigate and the giant has vanished, once again. It's clear now, the statue is moving. It's still unclear whether or not it's moving alone or being moved by a person, but I feel like both options are just as terrifying in this situation. Shortly after, the video cuts and we see Wyatt is exploring another area, more specifically the hallway opposite to where the giant was just seen. We see what appears to be a children's play place, along with more closed storefronts. Approaching one of them, Wyatt sees something strange behind a shutter. It's what looks to be a forest. How is this here? How is it possible? We never find out. Confused and freaked out by what he's just seen, Wyatt begins to leave the area, but before he can, this happens. Whatever that statue is, it's following him. Initially, it's clear to us that the giant follows Weeping Angel rules, as every time Wyatt turns his back, it rolls towards him. This is what we're led to think, until the giant begins rolling in plain view of both Wyatt and the camera. It chases him across the mall towards the escalators, which Wyatt uses to escape from it. This stops the giant in its tracks, showing clearly that it's not able to climb stairs. It rolls away, giving Wyatt the chance to run for it. He sprints down the hallway and the giant immediately clocks onto him and gives chase once again. He uses his shoulder and rams into a wooden board, sealing off one of the stores. The giant approaches. The plank refuses to budge for the longest time before it finally gives way, and Wyatt legs it for a small corridor. We hear the glass being smashed by the giant as he runs down said hallway. Eventually coming to a small maintenance room, he locks himself in. It's clear that Wyatt is unravelling by this point. Emerging once again, he lifts the shutter and checks both directions for the giant before making a break for another corridor. He finds himself in an office space, dark and empty like the rest of them all. We see paintings on the walls of buildings and various other urban scenes, before Wyatt makes his way over to a table. It's a map of the shopping centre. We see that there's apparently an exit on the upper level of the mall, which is good news, but it unfortunately means that Wyatt will have to leave the safety of the office and face the giant once again. He reluctantly makes his way back to the main hall, but something has changed. The pristine environment is no more, and the mall has been overtaken by plant life. Not just moss and weeds growing through the cracks, but full-on trees sprouting through the floor. It's a dreadful sight, and one that defies any logic, but Wyatt has no time to dwell on the impossibility. He needs to find the exit. He dashes for the nearest escalator, but the giant intercepts him. It chases him across the mall, desperate to stop him from escaping, but he manages to reach another escalator before it can. He sprints for the elevator, out of order. There's a ramp at the other side, so he runs for that instead. There's an exit sign pointing towards the rafters. Before he can even think about that, however, he turns around. The giant is riding the escalator. Wyatt freezes, in denial of what he's looking at. He calls out, demanding to know what it wants. It points directly at him, and the lights flicker, before it charges. Wyatt breaks out of his trance and dodges out of the way just in time. His only option now is to traverse the rafters and escape. While he's doing this, he looks back briefly and we see that the giant is gone. However, terrifyingly enough, the stand the giant was previously on is still there. We don't know where it went, or how it moved without the stand, but we're so close to the exit now. Just a few more steps. This ending is so sudden. So much has built up to this moment, the moment where Wyatt can finally escape. But he fails. He will remain in the mall forever, the victim of an impossible place and an unknowable entity, simply known as the Rolling Giant. Everything about this video is nightmare fuel. The setting of an empty mall, untouched and deep below the earth, the atmosphere of dread, the sheer hopelessness, the unbelievably bleak and abrupt ending that leaves so much unanswered. How did any of the circumstances in this video come to be? How did the mall get here? And most importantly, what is the giant? There are no answers for the location of the mall, as Wyatt claims he's reluctant to share, but there is information about what the mall and the giant are. The giant is of course the now famous oversized puppet of Julian Revachon, a French botanist who lived in the Dallas area in the late 1800s. Revachon is credited for being the first to introduce the wonders of his craft to the rest of Dallas, as previously botany was unheard of. Revachon passed away in 1905 and has been celebrated ever since, so much so, in fact, that he was chosen to take part in the Parade of Giants, an event held in Dallas to celebrate the opening of the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge in 2012. The giants in question were all art pieces designed by various members of the community. They included many notable figures from Dallas's history, but the only one that's important for this video is Julian Revachon himself. After the event was over, the giants found their home in a shopping centre, more specifically the Valley View Mall, which was the one the oldest view took place in. The mall opened in 1978 and thrived throughout the late 20th and early 21st century, but an unfortunate turn of events led to the mall becoming a shell of its former self. Plagued by lawsuits, the centre struggled and many parts of it began to close. The only areas left open were the AMC Theatre and the various art studios that found their home there. By the time this all happened, most of the giants were long gone. The only one that stayed until the bitter end was Julian Revachon. He stood there for years, rotting away in the corner of an empty mall, abandoned by his friends and the community, until the place was finally demolished in 2023. It's a sad story. Surely such an influential and celebrated figure would have more of a ceremonious end, but sadly no. Julian was forgotten all over again. He died a second time. The fate of them all is similarly sad. A slow, quiet death, one where the life was drained gradually over several years until there was nothing and no one left. Which brings us, at last, to the oldest view. Why is the Valley View Mall buried deep underground in a random field? Why is the giant still there even though it doesn't exist anymore? Well, I don't think the mall is actually the original one. I think it's meant to be a memory of it, one that manifests itself in the real world and exists deep underground, hidden from view of the public. I believe this symbolises forgetting. It's buried like a memory that's faded, still there, but not the same as it used to be. The memory idea may also explain why the mall is seemingly able to change itself at will. Our memories are constantly changing, both in minor and major ways. The mall changes in minor ways when the lights flicker or when the stairs collapse, and it changes completely at the end when nature overtakes it. However, unlike the largely meaningless changes real memories undergo, the changes in the mall's memory are very much intentional. The clean, orderly interior we see at the start represents the state the mall was in its prime, back before humanity forgot about it. And the overgrowth we see at the end is the aftermath, the decay. Of course, the real mall never had trees or weeds growing in it because it wasn't abandoned for anywhere near enough time for this to happen. Like I said before, this mall is a memory, and Wyatt's being shown what humanity has done to the mall in a very literal sense. The mall cannot speak, so it communicates through these shifts in environment. If this mall did have a voice, I'm sure it would cry out in anguish. Not a physical pain, but the pain of being forgotten. Then we have the giant itself, aka Julian Revachon. Why is he here? This is where, once again, the memory explanation comes in. Just like the mall itself, the giant we see in the video isn't the original one. Instead, it's a memory, one that was forgotten alongside the Valley View Centre, as they were both abandoned at the same time. There's a theory about the giant that I really like. It's the idea that the giant isn't following Wyatt out of malice, it's doing it out of fear. The fear of being forgotten. Due to the sheer chance surrounding the discovery of this mall, it's possible that Wyatt is the first person the giant has seen in years. It's also likely that he's the only hope it has of finally being noticed, being saved from the shadows of the past and brought back to the present. Unfortunately, because of the giant's uncanny appearance, immense size, and hostile behaviour, his intentions are misconstrued by Wyatt. He runs away, he evades the giant, he tries everything in his power to leave it in the past, although he doesn't even know it. In his eyes, he's fighting for survival. In the giant's eyes, he's fighting to abandon these forgotten memories. This theory really makes you feel for the giant. I know I do, because I share the same sentiment. I'm scared of being forgotten. I hope I will be remembered, and I hope all of you will too. I want to avoid the second death, and I'm sure the same goes for you. But the nature of humanity makes this unlikely. Now you can choose to see this as a curse, an unfortunate reality that plagues all of us, or you can see it as an opportunity to do something meaningful. Making a name for yourself, achieving something incredible, making yourself known to all can prolong your life in memory. You can avoid being forgotten. We all can. Remember that. Nostalgia is more than just an appreciation for a time that no longer exists. Nostalgia is the memory of something powerful, something that sticks with us, that leaves an impression. We all have memories of things that matter to us, and they're all completely unique from each other, just like us humans. They're reflections of who we are and the things that shaped us, a story of human life, told through the lens of a fading past. And while we may want all of these memories to be happy, I'm sure you've learned by now that there's way more to it, more aspects to them that we may not remember but still exist somewhere. There's a childhood home with its comfort and warmth. There's old Minecraft with its nostalgic unease. There's a liminal space with nothing but silence left within its walls. And then there's the buried memory of a long-dead shopping mall and its fear of being forgotten. If there's anything you learn from this video, let it be this. Memory is a blessing, because the power to remember is the power to immortalize.